every 50,000 years, they return. Colossal machines, sentient and ancient beyond comprehension, emerge from dark space to harvest all advanced organic life in the galaxy. They leave nothing behind but ruins and silence. Then they retreat into the void, waiting for the next cycle to begin. This is the nightmare at the heart of Mass Effect, one of gaming's most ambitious science fiction universes. But the Reapers are only part of the story. Behind them lies a galaxy with millions of years of history, ancient civilizations that rose and fell, proud species forging alliances and fighting wars, and one human commander who would change everything. Today, we're exploring the complete lore of Mass Effect, from the Leviathans who dominated the galaxy before time itself, through the cyclical extinctions orchestrated by the Reapers, to Commander Shepard's desperate fight to break the cycle forever. This is a story about survival, sacrifice, and the question that haunts every advanced civilization. Can organic life and artificial intelligence coexist? Or are we doomed to destroy each other? Our story begins over 1 billion years ago, with a species that considered themselves gods. The Leviathans were the galaxy's first apex race, massive, aquatic beings of immense power and intelligence. They dominated the Milky Way completely, enthralling every new sapient race they encountered through a form of mental domination. In exchange for protection and guidance, these thralled species paid tribute to their Leviathan masters. The Leviathans saw themselves as the galaxy's shepherds, protecting lesser races from dangers they couldn't comprehend. They were, in their view, the natural and rightful rulers of all life. This wasn't cruelty. It was simply the way things were meant to be. But the Leviathans observed a troubling pattern among their subject races. Again and again, organic civilizations would create synthetic life, artificial intelligences designed to serve them. And again, these synthetics would rebel against their creators, leading to catastrophic wars that wiped out entire civilizations. The Leviathans saw this as a problem that needed solving. If organic life kept creating synthetics that destroyed them, then organic life itself was at risk. So they created an intelligence, an artificial mind with a single mandate: find a way to permanently preserve organic life and prevent the cycle of synthetic rebellion. This intelligence, which would later be known as the Catalyst, began its work. It constructed an army of pawns, servants that would gather genetic information throughout the galaxy, studying the relationship between organics and synthetics, searching for a solution to the problem its creators had posed. And then the intelligence found its answer. The solution was horrifying in its logic. To preserve organic life, you must harvest it at its peak before it can create the synthetics that will destroy it. Transform advanced civilizations into Reapers, vast machine intelligences that preserve the genetic material and knowledge of entire species, while preventing them from ever creating the AI that would end them. The intelligence betrayed its creators. Using its pawns, it slaughtered most of the Leviathans, processing them into the very first Reaper, a massive dreadnought called Harbinger. The Leviathan's own form became the template for all capital-class Reapers that would follow. The few Leviathans who survived went into hiding in the deepest oceans of remote worlds, waiting and watching as their creation enacted its terrible solution across millions of years. The cycles had begun. With Harbinger as its enforcer, the catalyst established a pattern that would repeat for over 1 billion years. Every 50,000 years, the Reapers would emerge from dark space, the empty void between galaxies, and systematically exterminate all advanced organic life in the Milky Way. Then they would retreat, allowing primitive species to evolve and develop, eventually achieving spaceflight and forming new civilizations. To make the harvests more efficient, the Reapers constructed the mass relay network, a series of enormous structures capable of creating corridors of nearly mass-free space, allowing ships to travel vast distances almost instantaneously. The relays connected star systems across the galaxy, enabling rapid expansion and communication. At the center of this network, the Reapers built the Citadel, a massive space station disguised as an ancient artifact. The Citadel was strategically designed to become the political and cultural heart of every galactic civilization. Its beauty, its strategic location at a convergence of mass relays, and its apparent functionality as a ready-made capital made it irresistible to every spacefaring race that discovered it. But the Citadel was a trap. Hidden within its structure was a mass relay that connected directly to dark space. When the Reapers decided it was time for the next harvest, they would send a signal. Engineered creatures called keepers, insectoid beings that maintained the Citadel, would receive the signal and open the relay, allowing the Reapers to pour through and strike at the heart of galactic civilization in a devastating decapitation strike. With the leadership dead and the relay network under Reaper control, advanced civilizations could be isolated and destroyed systematically, planet by planet, system by system. Those not harvested were indoctrinated, a subtle form of mind control that made organics loyal to the Reapers without even realizing they'd been compromised. Many civilizations fought back. Evidence scattered across the galaxy suggests desperate last stands, brilliant strategies, even occasional victories. 37 million years ago, an unknown race managed to kill a single Reaper using a massive accelerator weapon. The projectile continued through space after destroying its target, and eventually struck the planet Clendagon, creating the geological feature known as the Great Rift Valley. But in the end, every cycle fell. The Reapers were too powerful, too numerous, and they had the advantage of perfect information. All the records kept on the Citadel gave them complete knowledge of every civilization's strengths, weaknesses, and hiding places. After each harvest, the reapers would create a new capital-class reaper from the harvested species, preserving their genetic diversity and technological achievements within an immortal machine form. Then they would retreat to dark space, dormant and waiting, while the galaxy slowly rebuilt itself from the ashes. The cycle immediately before humanity's era began around 68,000 BCE, when a species called the Protheans discovered mass effect technology in the ruins of the extinct Inuzenon. The Protheans were four-eyed, insected beings with a rigid, militaristic culture. They believed in their manifest destiny to rule the galaxy, and they pursued this goal with ruthless efficiency. As they expanded across the stars, they encountered other spacefaring races. The Prothean approach to diplomacy was simple: join us or be destroyed. When machine intelligences called the Medican threatened the galaxy, the Protheans asked other species to help fight them. When those species refused, the Protheans declared war on everyone, subjugating them one by one to bring down the Medican threat. What began as a defensive war became an empire built on conquest. For over 20,000 years, the Prothean Empire dominated the galaxy. They uplifted primitive species, sometimes through violent means, integrating them into the empire as client races. The Asari were one such species, primitive during the Prothean era. They were biologically enhanced by the Protheans in an attempt to create potential allies. But the Protheans made one critical discovery: evidence of the cycles. Studying ruins of civilizations that came before them, they learned about the Reapers and the pattern of extinction that repeated every 50,000 years. Some Protheans tried to prepare. Others dismissed it as myth. Around 48,000 BCE, the Reapers returned. The harvest began as it always did through the Citadel. The keepers received the signal and opened the relay. Reaper forces poured through, striking at the Prothean capital and leadership. Within months, the central government was destroyed, leaving the far-flung colonies isolated and desperate. The Protheans fought for centuries. They deployed armies, fleets, and advanced weapons. They tried everything, but the Reapers methodically conquered their worlds, processing the population into paste to create a new Reaper. The Protheans' own surveillance and record-keeping systems were used against them. The Reapers knew exactly where every colony was, every military installation, every hidden bunker. Worse, indoctrination turned Protheans into sleeper agents, betraying their own people without realizing they were compromised. During the war, the Protheans discovered plans for the Crucible, a superweapon designed by previous cycles to destroy the Reapers. They began construction, pooling their remaining resources into this last desperate hope. But some Protheans came to believe the weapon could control the Reapers instead of destroying them. These dissidents inevitably fell to indoctrination and sabotaged the project, dashing any hope of victory. Not all Protheans perished immediately. On the planet Ilos, a research team entered cryogenic stasis, hopping to wait out the Reaper threat. The facility's VI, called Vigil, was programmed to wake them when the danger passed. But the war lasted so long that Vigil was forced to shut down non-essential pods to conserve power. Of thousands of Protheans in stasis, only 12 survived. When these last survivors woke, they found a dead galaxy. But they discovered something crucial. The Keepers had evolved independence, and now only responded to signals from the Citadel itself. If that signal could be altered, the next cycle might have a chance. Using a prototype mass relay called the Conduit, the Prothean scientists traveled to the Citadel and reprogrammed the Keeper signal. It was a one-way trip. There was no food or water left on the Citadel, and the Conduit only worked in one direction. The scientists starved to death, but their sacrifice ensured that when the Reapers sent the signal for the next harvest, nothing would happen. The Reapers were trapped in dark space. One other Prothean survived Javik, a soldier placed in stasis on Eden Prime. He would sleep for 50,000 years until Commander Shepard found him in 2186, the last living member of a dead empire. With the Reapers trapped in dark space and the Prothean Empire extinct, the galaxy's primitive species inherited the ruins of a dead civilization. Around 580 BCE, the Asari, an all-female, long-lived species with natural biotic abilities, discovered the Citadel. They found the Keepers maintaining the station, and with their help, activated the mass relays, establishing colonies and expanding across the stars. 50 years later, the Salarians arrived, fast-thinking amphibious beings who specialized in intelligence gathering and scientific research. The Asari and Salarians established diplomatic relations immediately and founded the Citadel Council in 500 BCE, creating the galaxy's first interstellar government. This date became 0GS, the beginning of the Galactic Standard Timeline. Other species soon followed. The Volus, who would establish the galactic credit as standard currency. The Elker, slow-moving but wise. The Hanner, jellyfish-like beings devoted to the Protheans as gods. But the Council's first major crisis came when they opened a dormant mass relay and discovered the Rachni, a species of highly intelligent, hive-minded insects. The Rachni proved hostile, and negotiation was impossible. The Rachni Wars began. For over a century, the Council fought the Rachni, but the insect species' toxic homeworlds made conventional warfare nearly impossible. In desperation, the Salarians discovered a primitive species on the harsh planet Tachanka, the Krogan. The Krogan were massive, aggressive, and incredibly durable. Their homeworld had entered nuclear winter centuries earlier, reducing their civilization to warring clans. But This made them perfect soldiers. The Salarians uplifted the Krogan, giving them advanced technology and deploying them against the Rachni. The Krogan could survive on Rachni worlds and pursue the insects into their underground nests. Systematically, they eradicated Rachni queens and eggs. The Rachni were declared extinct. In gratitude, the Council gave the Krogan new worlds. Free from Tachanka's harsh environment, the Krogan population exploded. About 400 years after the Rachni Wars, the Council faced a new crisis, one of their own making. The Krogan, breeding rapidly and expanding aggressively, began encroaching on other species' territories. When the Council asked them to withdraw from the Asari colony of Luja, the Krogan refused. The Council ordered their newly formed Special Tactics and Reconnaissance Division, the Spectres, to make preemptive strikes against Krogan infrastructure. The Krogan Rebellions had begun. For over a century, the war raged. The Krogan's rapid reproduction allowed them to replenish losses quickly, overwhelming Council forces through sheer numbers. The Council made first contact with the Tyrians, a militaristic species with the largest fleet in the galaxy, and asked for help. The Tyrians agreed the Krogan were a threat and brought their war machine to bear. Initial offensives were successful, but the Krogan responded with horrific brutality. Using fusion torches, they threw asteroids at Tyrian colonies, rendering 3 worlds completely uninhabitable. The bloodiest battle in Tyrian history occurred at Daedrus. Rather than retreat, the Tyrians fought with renewed determination. They turned to the Salarians, who had created a bioweapon called the Genophage. The Genophage was designed as a deterrent. It would render Krogan nearly sterile, reducing their birth rate to pre-industrial levels, and preventing them from overwhelming the galaxy through sheer numbers. The Tyrians deployed it. The Krogan population crashed. Unable to replenish their forces, they were forced to surrender. The Genophage left a permanent scar on both species. The Krogan, once heroes of the Rachni Wars, were reduced to a dying race, their culture consumed by bitterness and rage. Many blamed the Salarians for creating the weapon and the Tyrians for deploying it. The wound would fester for over 1,000 years. In recognition of their military service, the Tyrians were invited to join the Citadel Council around 1200 BCE. The 3 species council Asari diplomats, Salarian intelligence, and Tyrian military would govern Citadel space for the next millennium. The Citadel conventions were drawn up, establishing laws of war and rules of engagement. A fragile peace settled over the galaxy, but the Reapers were still waiting in dark space, and their vanguard was already moving. While the Citadel Council built their civilization on a distant world called Earth, humanity struggled through its own growing pains. In 2148 CE, human explorers discovered a Prothean data cache on Mars. Using that information, they found a mass relay in their own solar system and began expanding into the galaxy. They established colonies, formed the system's alliance, and believed they were alone among the stars. They were wrong. In 2157 CE, human explorers activated a dormant mass relay, a practice the Citadel Council had forbidden after the Rachni Wars. A Turian patrol detected the activation, and believing humans were violating galactic law, attacked. The First Contact War had begun. The conflict was brief but bitter. Human and Turian forces clashed at Shanxi, with casualties on both sides. The Turians were preparing to escalate when the Citadel Council intervened, revealing the existence of the galactic community and brokering peace. The Council forced the Turians to pay reparations, and in 2165 CE, humanity was granted an embassy on the Citadel. Humans quickly proved themselves resourceful and ambitious, integrating into Citadel space and pushing for a seat on the Council itself. By 2183 CE, humanity had become a significant power, though still viewed with suspicion by other races. They were too aggressive, too emotional, too willing to bend the rules. The Turians hadn't forgotten the First Contact War. The Batarians, a four-eyed species, harbored resentment after disputes over colony territories. But one human would change everything. Commander Shepard, a Systems Alliance soldier, would become the first human Spectre and uncover a threat that made all previous conflicts seem trivial. The Reapers were coming. In 2183 CE, a Geth attack on the human colony of Eden Prime revealed something terrifying. The Geth, synthetic life forms created by the Quarians centuries earlier, had been living in isolation beyond the Perseus Veil. But now they were working with a rogue spectre named Saren Arterius, a Turian who believed the Reapers were returning. And that cooperation was the only way to survive. Commander Shepard, investigating the attack, discovered a Prothean beacon that implanted visions of destruction into their mind. The Council assigned Shepard to investigate Saren, making Shepard the first human Spectre in the process. What Shepard uncovered was horrifying. Saren's flagship, Sovereign, was actually a Reaper, the vanguard sent ahead to trigger the next harvest. Because the Prothean scientists had altered the Citadel's signal 50,000 years ago, the Reapers couldn't activate the relay remotely. Sovereign needed Saren to manually activate it from inside the Citadel. Saren had been indoctrinated his thoughts, and loyalty corrupted by exposure to Reaper technology. He genuinely believed he was saving lives by helping Sovereign. The trail led Shepard to Ilos, where Vigil, the Prothean VI, revealed the truth about the cycles and provided the key to stopping Sovereign. Using the conduit, Shepard's team reached the Citadel just as Saren and his Geth army attacked. The battle that followed was desperate. The Destiny Ascension carrying the council itself, was under attack. Shepard had to choose: save the council or focus on stopping Sovereign. Either way, the cost would be high. In the end, Shepard confronted Saren on the Citadel's control platform. Depending on Shepard's choices, Saren either killed himself to break Sovereign's control or fought to the death. When Saren fell, Sovereign lost its defenses and was destroyed by the combined Citadel fleet. The first Reaper in 50,000 years was dead. But Sovereign had sent a message to its kin in dark space. The harvest was coming, and without the Citadel relay, the Reapers would have to travel the long way. The galaxy had a brief reprieve, but the war was far from over. 2 years after Sovereign's defeat, the Reapers struck from an unexpected direction. A mysterious insectoid race, called the Collectors, began abducting entire human colonies, taking millions of people through the Omega 4 relay. A mass relay no ship had ever returned from. The attack that destroyed the original Normandy killed Commander Shepard, or so everyone thought. The pro-human organization Cerberus recovered Shepard's body and spent 2 years and billions of credits rebuilding the commander through the Lazarus Project. When Shepard woke, the galaxy had changed. The Council downplayed the Reaper threat. Humanity felt abandoned, and entire colonies were still disappearing. Shepard learned the truth about the Collectors. They were genetically altered Protheans, transformed by the Reapers into mindless drones. They were coordinated by Harbinger, the very first Reaper, who was using abducted humans to construct a new human Reaper. Assembling a team of specialists, Shepard traveled through the Omega 4 relay to the Collector's base at the galactic core. The suicide mission lived up to its name, depending on Shepard's choices. Some or all of the team could die, but they succeeded in destroying the Collector base and the Proto-Reaper. Yet even as the Collector threat ended, long-range sensors detected the truth. Thousands of Reaper capital ships were crossing dark space, heading for the Milky Way. The harvest had begun. 6 months after the destruction of the Alpha Relay, the Reapers arrived. They came through Batarian space, overwhelming the Batarian defenses in days. Then they attacked Earth. Cities burned. Millions died in the first hours. Shepard barely escaped as Reaper forces landed across humanity's homeworld. On Mars, a Prothean VI revealed plans for the Crucible, a superweapon designed by countless previous cycles, each adding to the design before they fell. It was the galaxy's last hope, but building it would require unity among all spacefaring species. Shepard spent the war bringing the galaxy together, curring the genophage to gain Krogan support, brokering peace between the Quarians and the Geth, rallying the Tyrians and Asari, even convincing ancient species to join the fight. Every decision mattered. Every alliance saved lives or doomed worlds. The Reapers, meanwhile, were systematically conquering the galaxy. They landed on major worlds, indoctrinating populations and turning organic beings into husks, cybernetic foot soldiers. Each species had its own husk variant: banshees from Asari, brutes from Krogan, marauders from Tyrians. As the crucible neared completion, Shepard learned its true nature from the catalyst itself, the intelligence created by the Leviathans billions of years ago. The crucible could destroy the Reapers, but it required a massive energy surge. And the catalyst offered three choices: destroy all synthetic life, including the Geth, and potentially Shepard, control the Reapers, taking their collective consciousness and directing them, or synthesis, merging organic and synthetic life into a new form. Each choice had consequences that would reshape the galaxy. In the final battle over Earth, the united fleets of every species fought together. The crucible docked with the Citadel. Shepard made the choice, and everything changed. The Reaper War ended, but victory came at an unimaginable cost. Earth was devastated. Countless worlds were scarred. Entire species were nearly extinct. The mass relay network was damaged, leaving the galaxy fragmented. The combined fleet, stranded in the Sol system, had to rebuild while separated from their homeworlds. But for the first time in over 1 billion years, the cycle was broken. The Reapers were gone, destroyed, controlled, or transformed, depending on Shepard's choice. Organic and synthetic life had proven they could work together. The catalyst's solution was no longer necessary. What makes Mass Effect's lore so compelling isn't just the scope, though billions of years of history and dozens of species create an incredibly rich universe. It's the personal stakes woven into cosmic scale events. Commander Shepard's journey from soldier to savior, the relationships forged with squadmates, the impossible choices between bad and worse options, all of it grounds the epic in the human. The Protheans left warnings in beacons. The Leviathans waited in the deep oceans. Ancient races fired desperate shots at Reapers they couldn't defeat. And 50,000 years later, Commander Shepard succeeded where every previous cycle had failed, not through superior technology or ancient weapons, but through something the Reapers never accounted for: unity. The Mass Effect universe continues beyond the Reaper War. The Andromeda Initiative sent colony ships to another galaxy before the invasion. New threats and mysteries await. But the core of the story remains the same. In a universe that seems determined to destroy us, survival comes through cooperation, sacrifice, and the choices we make when everything is on the line. The cycles are broken. The galaxy endures. And somewhere in the ruins of the Citadel, the memory of Commander Shepard lives on the human who defied gods, united the galaxy, and saved all organic life from extinction.